Singapore was where it was held. It was the Shangri-La Dialogue. This is the big Asian Security Summit over the weekend. A whole lot of defence ministers from around the world turn up and they discuss a lot of the key global issues. This was where, of course, US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth urged us to lift our defence spending to 3.5% of GDP, he says, as soon as possible.
NATO members are pledging to spend 5% of their GDP on defence, even Germany. So it doesn't make sense for countries in Europe to do that while key allies in Asia spend less on defence in the face of an even more formidable threat.
Peter Jennings joins me now, Director of Strategic Analysis Australia, and I would suspect, Peter Jennings, you'll correct me, someone who spent plenty of time at the Shangri-La Dialogue in the past. Interestingly, you know, Richard Marles was all sort of tea and sympathy when he was over there with Hegseth in Singapore. You get back to Australia, though, and the leader shuts him down. The Prime Minister says, we're not interested in this at all. He's crowing about his 2.4% of GDP spend. Have a listen.
We cannot leave it to the United States alone. Other countries must contribute to this balance as well, and that includes Australia.
What we'll do is we'll determine our defence policy, and we've invested just across the forwards an additional $10 billion in defence.
OK, Peter, you're the expert here. Help people at home to understand. If we're going to spend 2.4, the US says, nah, it's really got to be 3.5. Why is the increase so important?
Well, for a start, the 2.4% that the Prime Minister talks about only really clicks in about 8 years' time. We're seeing virtually minimal change in this term of government from the projections which were actually set for defence in the 2016 White Paper that was written over a decade ago. It doesn't fit the strategic circumstances that we now face of conflict in Europe and the Middle East, and a much greater risk of conflict in the Asia-Pacific region. The 3.5% figure that Pete Hegseth talks about, I think, is a mark, Peter, of roughly where American defence spending is these days. And we're so far back from that, really because we've been riding on American security coattails for the better part of 20 or 30 years. During the Cold War, we were spending between 3 to 3.5% of defence over that period of time. And it's fallen very significantly since then. So really this is a warning from our closest ally to say we've got to get our act in order. I'm sad that it's had to be this way. I'm sad that Australian governments haven't seen their own way to concluding that we need to spend more on defence. But the call from Pete Hegseth is timely, and we really should be paying attention to it.